Hey folks, in this video we're going to learn how to send a combo chart with two axes using Google Apps Script to Gmail. So you're going to learn how to write this code, which is going to have a code file, a custom function file called data collector, and an HTML file. And the result is going to be a script that allows you to send a chart that looks like this. So in a previous video, we learned how to send charts using Google Apps Script. So you can see that we have a column chart and we have a pie chart, and then we have this script up here. So when we run this, we're able to compile our code, which results in two images of charts being sent that originated from Google Sheets. The problem is that if you attempted to use this code base, which has a getCharts method in it, you will not be able to successfully accomplish your goal if you use a combo chart like this. So you can see I'm going to change it to a combo chart, one that has a column and a line. And when I attempt to run this code, I'm getting an error. But when I attempt to run this code, I get a more specific error that says exception, service spreadsheets failed while accessing document with ID. And the reason for that is, I don't know the reason for it, but it's an outstanding issue that Google has on its issue tracker, which I don't know how long they've known about this, but the first note here seems to be from March 15th, 2021. I would presume it's probably persisted longer than that. So what we're going to learn how to do today is get over that issue. We're going to write some code that will accomplish that goal so that you can send a combo chart. So what I would recommend is have a Google Sheet with at least two data columns, one that you want to be a line and one that you want to be a column. So you can see this is my data set. Feel free to pause the video and copy this down or collect your sheet or what have you. But we're going to begin by going to the extensions menu and then opening up App Script. You can see I've already opened mine and I've cleared out my file, although I didn't do a great job. I've cleared out my file now, so I have my code.gs file. Before we begin, I just want to say this is going to be more advanced relative to some of my other videos. So if you are struggling, pause the video, go back and rewatch stuff. And I hope to add code to the description at some point. Let's begin by adding our files. So you should have code.gs right now. You're going to add another script file, which we're going to call function data collector. This is going to be a custom function that we've built in many of my other videos. And then we're going to add a file, an HTML file, and I'm going to call it email. You can call it whatever you want to. We're going to begin by going into the function file, and we are going to create a function called data collector. We're going to pass one argument to data collector. I like to call it sheet_ID. You can call it whatever you want to. We're going to begin by access the workbook, and we are going to create a variable called WB that is going to reference spreadsheet app.getActiveSpreadsheet. Next, we're going to access all the sheets, and we're going to call it sheets, and we are going to reference our WB variable and then use the getSheets method. Now we're going to loop through the sheets using for. My variable is I in sheets. Curly brackets, conditional to evaluate the sheet ID. And we are going to say if sheets iterator dot get sheet ID double equal sign, and then we're going to say sheet ID. So whatever your input up here is what you want to put down here. Curly brackets, extract sheet name. So I'm going to create a variable called sheet name, and we're going to set it to sheets iterator dot get sheet name. Cool. We're going to leave our if, we're going to leave our for, and we're going to get back into our function. Next, we're going to access the sheet, and we are going to call a variable of sheets, and we're going to set it to workbook.getSheet by name, and then we're going to pass it that sheet name that we extracted through our for loop. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you know I use this method because Google Apps Script does not have a native getSheetById method. It only has getSheetByName. The challenge with extracting data using a name is that names change, and when that happens, scripts break. So in order to maintain sustainability, scalability within your code, I always reference using identification numbers because they do not change. Finally, we are going to establish the data range and extract data values. So we're going to use our return statement. So this is what we will get when we call this function. We are going to return sheet.getRange. And because of the way that my data is structured, my first data point is in cell A1, which means that I'm going to start at row 1, column 1. If your data does not start in cell A1, then you're going to want to use the row first, followed by the start column. And that will determine what your first value is, as well as the second value. Next, we are going to go sheet.getLastRow. But again, if your data is not in cell 1, column 1, then you're going to have to adjust this variable in order to change the getLastRow call, which is going to return the number of the row with your last data entry point in it. So basically, it'll look for the last row where a value is entered. That includes, spaces, commas, any character in a cell. So it returns the number 6. So what my code here is basically saying is 116. And then if data gets added here, then it would do 117. So if you are not using row 1, column 1, then you're going to have to figure this out. Sheet.getLastColumn accomplishes the same thing that I just said with getLastRow. It gets the very last column with data in it. Then we're going to .getValues. Make sure you get values, not display values. Values. If you're getting an error here, make sure that it says get capital V values. If you have any issues with the above, reach out in the comments section. I love interacting with you. Cool. We've created our function file. We're going to go to code.js, and we are going to create a function, and I'm going to call it main. We're not going to pass any arguments to it. We're going to do curly brackets, and we are going to begin by attaching the HTML template. So we're going to declare a variable called HTML. It's not a great name, but it works. You can call this whatever you want to. Reference HTML service.create template from file, and then you're going to reference whatever the name is of your HTML file. So just the word before the .html. So in my case, it's email. If you called this something else, you would do whatever it is before the dot. Next, we are going to connect the template so you can send it via Gmail app. So then we're going to create a variable called email content, and we are going to set it to html.evaluate.getContent. Cool. Next, we are going to use our data collector function in order to get the data values. So we're going to declare a variable of values, and we're going to have that set to data collector. And then it takes one argument. You are going to pass it whatever your sheet ID is. So you can see up here it says hash GID =, whatever the number is to the right of the equal sign is what you're going to paste into your function so that you can collect the data from that sheet. Next, we're going to create a data table. So because we can't use .getCharts and save it as an image and then send that, we're going to have to build the chart in Google Apps Script. This is where it's going to start to get a little complicated, but I think it's still manageable. So we're going to begin by declaring a variable, and we're going to call it totals table. And we're going to equal sign charts.new data table. We're going to hit enter, dot, and we're going to add a column. And we're going to say charts dot column type dot, and then you have 3 options. So it really depends on what type of data you have in your sheet. I have all numbers. I want my first column to be strings though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it set to string. You can set it to whatever you want to. It really depends on what your data is. Next, we're going to name the column or label of the column. You can do this statically. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my values variable to access my data. So I'm going to say values, and then I want to start at the first point of each of the data array. So basically 0, 0 means A1, right? So 0, 0. So I want year, I'm going to reference values 0, 0. We're going to go to the right of the parentheses there, hit enter, dot, add column, and we're going to do it again. We're going to reference charts, and we're going to call a column type, and then this time I'm going to do a number because it's my second column. It's going to be the amount column, and those are numbers. I'm going to do a comma, and then I'm going to name it values 0, and this time I'm going to do a 1. The reason for that is because all of my headers are in the first row, which is 0, and then amount is in the second column. So if year is 0, amount is 1, preference is 2, performance 1 is 2, performance 2 is 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'm doing 0, 0, 0, 1. And then because the other columns are all numbers as well, I'm just going to copy row 15, go to the right of it, hit enter, paste. I'm going to change the 1 to a 2. I'm going to go to the right, hit enter, paste, change the 1 to a 3. So you can see here we're referencing the first row, and then we're referencing each column in the row. Remember, 0, 1, 2, 3 is represented of column A, B, C, D. But again, if your data starts here and you enter 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, doesn't matter. All of it stays the same. It's really all relative to this becoming a data array that has been collected by your data collector function. Cool. So we're going to go to the right of 3, hit enter, go down, and now we're going to iterate through the values variable. So we are going to use a for loop here. So we're going to do for var is equal to 1, semicolon. I is less than values dot length, semicolon, I plus plus. Sorry, I missed my I in here. There's a little typo. So if you have red lines right now, like I do, it's because I said for var and then I did equals 1. All you have to do is do for, open parentheses, var, space, I, space, and then that takes care of it. We're going to go to the right to our parentheses there, and we're going to add in 2 curly brackets. We're going to hit enter. We're going to reference totals table, or whatever you called your new data table. We're going to do a dot, and we're going to add a row. And our row is going to contain values, square bracket, I. So what this is doing is this is starting at the first array within our values array, and then it's iterating through each one. and it's adding it to each column in our totals table, which is a quote unquote new data table. So the reason that we started at 1 is because row 0 is our headers, and we don't want them included in our data table. We want them as the headers of the columns, but then we want row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you have more than that, so on, that's being pushed in as our data rows. That's what we actually want populating these columns here. So that's what all of this accomplishes. So now what we're going to do is build the chart. So we're going to do totals table dot build parentheses semicolon. Cool. I'm going to hit save. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some more space down here so that we can center our screen and start going into a more complicated part. So what we're going to do is we are going to create the chart with stacked columns and a line. This is where it gets complicated. So I apologize in advance if I mess anything up, but this is where we're going to we're going to create the column chart, and we are going to set the axes points of the data, and we are going to add colors and titles and all that type of stuff. So it's not something that I specialize in, but I know how to do it. So please bear with me. And if I misspeak throughout any of this, I apologize. Use the comment section to correct me. We're all here to learn. And with that in mind, I just want to say that this should actually say build the table. We didn't actually build the chart yet. We just built a data table. Cool. So we're going to start by declaring a variable called chart. And we're going to have it equal to charts dot, and then I'm going to pick new column chart here. We're going to do an open parentheses, and we're going to hit enter. We're going to hit dot and say set data table, and we are going to set it to the totals table. Next, we're going to set dimensions. This is just a preference of mine. I'm going to do 800, 600. You can play around with it. This is just literally the size of the chart. Next, we are going to set option, and we are going to say single quote, lowercase is, capital S stacked, and we're going to set this to true. So this is what's going to stack our values so that it's a stacked column. We're going to hit enter and do set option, and we are going to single quote series, comma, curly bracket, and we're going to say 0, colon, curly bracket. Target, capital A, axis, capital I, index, colon, 1. Then we're going to use type, colon, I apologize, make sure you have a comma after your 1, followed by type, colon, single quote, and then we're going to have a line. We're going to do a comma, we're going to do point, size, and we're going to set that to 7. You do a comma, then we're going to do line dash style, colon, square bracket, 2, comma, 2. Cool. So after the square bracket, you're going to have 2 curly brackets. You're going to use a comma, and then you're going to enter in the number 1, colon, curly bracket. And you're going to write target, capital A, axis, capital I, index, and you're going to set it to 0. You're going to go in between your 2 curly brackets, and you're going to do another comma. You're going to use 2, colon, curly bracket, target, capital A axis, capital I index. You're going to set it to 0. You're going to go in between your two curly brackets. You're going to do a comma. You're going to go to the right of your curly bracket and your parentheses. And you're going to hit enter. Next, we're going to use set option. And we're going to have this start with a single quote. And we're going to say legend, comma, curly brackets, position, colon, single quote, bottom, comma, text style, colon, curly brackets, font, capital S, size, colon, space, 10. So this will allow you to change your legend. So right now we have it set to the position of bottom and the font size of 10. So if you change these two values here, it'll change things. Cool. So next we're going to set our colors, and we're going to do dot set option, parentheses, single quote, colors. Then we're going to do a comma. We're going to do curly bracket, or sorry, not curly bracket. We're going to do square brackets. So I'm just going to use the colors that I used in mine. You can change these out however you want to. They are hex codes. If you want to select your own hex codes, you can go up top here and then click on custom like this. And then you can see that when you drag this around, you get all these different hex codes and RGB values and all that type of stuff. So if you don't like these colors, the colors I picked are not great, just being honest. If you don't like these colors, you can plug in whichever ones you want to. So what I'm going to do is single quote, hash, 6 zeros. I think that's 6. Comma, single quote, and then I'm going to do hash 1 C 4 5 8 7. And I'm going to do comma, single quote, hash C 9 D A F 8. Cool. I'm going to go to the right. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to set another option. And I am going to reference the vertical axis using V and a capital A. I am going to use comma, curly bracket. I'm going to set the grid lines, colon, curly bracket. I'm going to do the count to 0 because I don't want any grid lines. I'm going to go to the right, so you can see you should have 2 curly brackets here and then a parentheses in between the 2 curly brackets. I'm going to do comma. I'm going to do format, colon, single quote, short. Cool. Go to the right, hit enter. I'm going to set another option for V, capital A, X, E, S. And I am going to do comma, and I'm going to do curly bracket. I'm going to do 0, colon, curly bracket, title, values. I'm going to do 0, 2. Now, the reason that I'm doing 0, 2 is because I want one of my axes names to be performance 1. Okay, so this will be on the left side of my chart, and it is going to dynamically pull from the values variable up here that we have been doing. Same way that we programmatically reference the column names, we're doing the same thing with the chart. You don't have to have a title there, so I think you can just leave this blank. You don't have to include this, but that is what I did. So then I'm going to go outside of my colon here, right? So you're going to have values, not colon, sorry, curly bracket. You're going to have values, square bracket 0, square bracket 2, curly bracket, comma. In between the 2 curly brackets, you're going to do a comma. My apologies, that's a parentheses. You're going to do curly bracket, comma, and then you're going to do 1. And you're going to set that to a colon, curly bracket, and then you're going to say title, colon, and you're going to do values, and you're going to do square bracket 0, square bracket 1. So that is going to set it to amount, and that is going to go on the right side of your chart. So basically, you're dynamically naming your chart names. So you're going to hit enter there, and now we're going to set option, and we are going to have single quote, and we're going to do title, and we're going to do comma, and now we can just write whatever we want to. So I'm going to call this combo chart example. We're going to hit enter. We're going to say set option, and we're going to do parentheses, and we're going to do single quote, and we're going to do chart, capital A, area, comma, curly bracket. And I'm going to set the top to 95, comma, right, colon, 95, comma, bottom, colon, 95, comma, left, colon, 95. I'm going to go to the right, going to go to the right, going to hit enter, going to do dot build, open parentheses, dot get as, and then you're going to do single quotes. I like to do image slash PNG. And you're done. So the challenging thing about building charts, at least for me as somebody who has more of like a data analytics background and not so much like web development, JavaScript background, is understanding the set option piece here. The documentation for Google is not very strong. So it was a lot of Stack Overflow and ChatGPT. I haven't talked about ChatGPT on my channel, I don't think, to this point, but it has been a lifesaver and a knowledge expander in terms of engaging with these more complicated problems that I didn't understand how to engage with. So I would caution you with the data that you put into ChatGPT, but I would also highly recommend that if you have any issues, it is a valuable tool. And if you pasted in this code, for example, it can help you understand how to modify this to align with the things that you want to accomplish. Cool. So now what we're going to do is send the email. So we are going to reference Gmail app dot send email, parentheses, hit enter. I'm going to put square brackets here. If you put square brackets, then you can send it to multiple people. I'm going to send this to mattbrigidi.dev@gmail.com. If you have any questions, this is a great place to reach out to me. In the event that you want to send this to more than one person, you can do a comment and you can do email@email.com. Okay, so this is the square brackets is how you can have more than one. Just so that you know, I believe there is a limit of 50 emails that you can send at one time. Okay, cool. So we're going to hit enter, and then we are going to create our subject line. So we'll do combo chart email, go to the right, hit comma, and then have a little like error message type of thing. So this email uses HTML. Excuse me. So we're going to do a comma, and then we are going to do we're going to do curly brackets, and then we are going to say HTML capital B body, colon, and then you're going to reference email content. Email content came from all the way up here. That's what's evaluating your HTML template, which we will be getting to in one moment. Sorry for the quick scroll there. We're going to do HTML body, colon, email content, and you're going to do a comma. I'm going to hit enter just because I like to. And we're going to do in capital L line. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. We're going to do all lowercase inline, and then we're going to do capital I images, colon, and you're going to use curly bracket, and then you're going to reference chart or whatever you called your chart. So I called mine chart. That's why I'm putting it down here with curly brackets. Cool. So now I'm going to save my project. All of our coding is basically done. So now we're going to go to our HTML file, and we're going to write a really basic HTML template. So I'm going to have the P tag here, and I'm going to say, hello, here is the combo chart you've been waiting for. I'm going to have a closing p tag. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to do an opening tag, and I'm going to use img, and I'm going to say src equals single quote cid colon chart. I'm going to have a closing tag in here. I'm going to hit save. I am going to cross my fingers and hit run. We're going to have to give permissions in order to access the Gmail, like to access your Gmail so that you can read and write and stuff. So go to advanced here, click the unsafe thing here, and it's basically just saying you're giving permission to Gmail app. You hit allow, cross our fingers, and looks like we got something. So we're going to open up our email. We're going to have a security alert letting us know that we gave an app access. We click on here and check it out. We now have a combo chart that has dotted line, 7-point dots, stacked values, performance on the left side, amount on the right side, a nice little header up here. So I hope you found this helpful. You may not want to do all these things that I entered in here, but hopefully this acts as either an exposure point or an inspiration point to kind of mess around with this stuff. You can change up these set options here in order to make this, more of your thing. As I noted, like these here, like values 02 and values 01, like this is the left side, this is the right side. This is where you're determining that you want a line on the right axis. That's what that 1 here is referencing. The point size is 7, right? That's what this is. So this is point size. This is the line. You can see it's a dotted line, which is where we had line dash style. You can kind of like remove these things and play around with it and develop your own style. So I hope you found this helpful. I've been getting a lot of comments lately, and that's been really wonderful. I really enjoy hearing from you. And feel free to point out things that are confusing or that I don't have completely correct. This is meant to be a learning experience, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.